Yeah, I think there is something pretty like, I keep saying the word punk rock because it feels like very innovative and it feels very fresh, like the things that are happening here. And I'm honored that I'm a part of it, the ecosystem that's contributing to film happening in Oak Cliff and in Dallas. And I try to encourage people to do the same, not just for the sake of like selfishly keeping people in Dallas, but I'm like, look, it'll benefit you more to build your community here.
Welcome to the Hidden City Podcast. I'm Grant.
And I'm Doug, and we're here to share some of the incredible stories and people from Oak Cliff that you might not know.
We're going to sit down with some of the visionaries, craftsmen, and business owners who have shaped Oak Cliff into what it is today.
Oak Cliff is on the south bank of the Trinity River, a few miles south of downtown Dallas. While technically it was part of Dallas, it was its own city for a long time, and it still has that independent spirit.
We'll dive into the history and the spirit of this place, exploring the different challenges and successes that defined it.
This is The Hidden City, a podcast about the people and the stories that make Oak Cliff extraordinary. Welcome to this episode of the Hidden City Podcast. Today we have our friend Merced Elizondo, who's a Mexican-American filmmaker, and we're really excited to sit down and have this opportunity to talk to him. Merced, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's a pleasure.
Man,
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
It's great.
We're pumped too.
Well, you say you're Oak Cliff born and bred, and that's really shaped some of your storytelling. Do you mind jumping in and telling us a little bit of that connection and how's that come about?
I mean, when I say Oak Cliff born and bred, I mean, I mean it. I grew up here. I was born and raised here. I have family that's lived here for most of their life, went to high school here. I went to high school in Oak Cliff, so
Nice.
I feel very connected to this community, and it's very much a part of me. I grew up with a mom from Mexico. She's an immigrant, and my dad who grew up in Oak Cliff as well. So you kind of have like a really interesting perspective on what it means to grow up being Mexican-American in this community where there's a lot of people that look like me and talk like me. But it shaped everything of who I am, I remember growing up in high school. I'm sure we've all heard the song, "The Oak Cliff."
Yeah.
That it's so interesting because that I feel like in the moment you're not really conscious of just like what that mentality like is.
Right.
But I feel that now, like the older you get, once you become conscious of it, you're like, oh yeah, no, this is an attitude. It's a perspective on life, and it's a way to walk the earth of just having this like attitude.
Yeah.
This like punk rock energy as a filmmaker, as a person, and I'm honored to be like
you're
part of the community.
Proud to be part of it.
Yeah.
I feel like we have friends from California or whoever, and it's like they kind of know we're from Oak Cliff first before Dallas, which is
100%. 100%. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I can maybe think of like the only other place is Houston. Maybe I feel like Houston people are very proud to be from Houston.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good point.
You never really hear people necessarily saying like, "I'm from Dallas, Texas, baby."
Yeah.
Right.
But you hear like you hear Oak Cliff. Like, yeah, man, I'm from Oak Cliff.
man.
Like you don't hear that about Highland Park or Mesquite or Plain
No.
or Frisco. Like there's
I'm from the Park City.
the Park City. Dude, I'm from Louisville, brother.
Or
Richardson.
You're proud of being from here because of what it represents, and
yeah.
you guys know this as well as I do. There's a lot that comes with being a part of this community.
I agree with the Houston thing. I feel like I hear a lot of people who like they just man, Houston, it's a mega city of Texas. It's crazy.
Some of my favorite people in the world live in Houston or from Houston, but I don't like driving in Houston. It's just it's a giant circle of a city.
Yeah, dude,
it's just a lot to go around.
It keeps going.
It's gonna keep growing too. That thing's just built to be massive. So yeah. But let's talk about some of the filmmaking. So you grew up over in Oak Cliff. You mentioned before too that growing up, in a lot of the movies you were watching, you didn't see a lot of people that looked and sounded sort of like you. So tell me about what that sort of representation means for you as a filmmaker, and especially in some of the films you've made.
I mean, it means everything. It directly influenced the path that I'm on now and took eventually as a filmmaker. I didn't go to film school. I went to UT. I studied advertising because I didn't give myself permission to dream that big, to think that I could be a filmmaker, because being from here, especially being from here, like you don't see really artists coming out of here too much. At least when I was a kid growing up, or especially within my family, they're all blue collar labor workers, either in construction or my dad's a mechanic, been a mechanic his whole life.
Nice.
So to think or reason with the possibility that I could be an artist, like what is that? This is not like like you can't comprehend that. So that's why I studied advertising as maybe like a backup plan to feel that I could always get a job in marketing or social media. But it meant like not seeing anybody like me doing this, especially having very few like Mexican or Mexican American people making movies in the industry. I can think of three, like Alfonso Cuarón, Alejandro González Iñárritu, Guillermo del Toro. You look at these cats and you're like, oh yeah, this is great, but that's not, directors aren't real. They're not real people. They're these like ethereal, like they're almost like unicorns.
Yeah.
You don't believe that they could exist.
Like Greek gods.
They're like Greek gods. Yeah. And you know, with very few of them being Latino, you think like, oh no way, man. Like how could I possibly be one of them? And it wasn't until I did an internship the summer of 2015. I moved to New York. I worked at NBC, and I always tell people like that was really the push over the edge I needed to like finally say, you know what, like I'm around all these cats that are chasing their dreams, chasing their passions. I ought to be doing the same. And this was my summer going into my senior year at UT, and I just haven't looked back, you know. And I gave myself permission to actually finally do the thing, and rallied up the troops. Got support from my family and my friends, telling them like I am going to do this, and I haven't looked back.
I love it, man. Yeah, I was going to ask what it was like for your family, telling your friends and family like, hey, this is something I'm going to go do. Especially when it's not typical.
Not the path taken.
The path. It was not easy. I must admit. I have a very supportive family and friend group. I think for my family it was probably a little harder because I spent all of my college career studying advertising marketing. Everything was leading up for me to have a career in that.
Right.
So the minute I told my parents I'm going to pivot and make movies where there's really no job stability and you're kind of punk rocking and making everything on your own, like you're building your own opportunities. So naturally, and I don't blame them, like, you're going to be worried.
Sure.
And you're going to ask questions.
There's a risk to this whole thing.
There's a huge risk to it. But I think they came along, you know. I think they saw how much I really loved and wanted to do this. That's cool. And it wasn't really until Manos de Oro, my third short film that I made back in 2019, that they really saw, okay, like he wants to do this. He has a passion for it. He means business, and he works with, you know, strong, good people. And it was really until then. And now, I mean, I always tell people my films are very much like family affairs. They're very homemade.
Yeah. You brought up Manos de Oro, and your dad being a mechanic too. So some of these themes, can you kind of jump into it? Like this film talks about masculinity. It kind of, you said it was your third short film? Third short film. Mm-hmm. What is that film, and how, like, I know people can go to your website and watch it, but tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so Manos de Oro, it's a story about a mechanic named Sergio who has arthritis in his hands and can no longer work. He is basically living with his son, Fernando, in his home. The mother's no longer there. And basically what ends up happening is they have this sort of, you know, they're playing chicken with one another about who's the new man of the house. And it deals with a lot of subjects that I think concern not only our community, Mexican-American community, Mexican community, but just at large, just, you know, what it means to be a man in this, you know, day and age, masculinity, mental health. Like, I feel like those are themes that are very much stigmatized in our community, especially being a Latino. Like, you bring up words such as bipolar or ADHD or any of those words that I feel like are very important to us now. But you know, people that come from our community, it's like stigmatized. You're like, oh, you're labeled as like el loco, the crazy one in the family. You know,
like it's flattened into one. Like,
totally.
Oh, this is
you're just crazy. You're weird, dude. Stay away from us. But it was, you know, really about trying to normalize the fact that it's okay to ask for help when you're at your lowest. These people that love you more than anything, like, you don't have the faculties to ask for help because you've been a provider for so long, and anything short of that feels like it's a punch in the face to you directly. So this film was inspired by watching my dad go through like an experience back in 2018. I was in the middle of writing another film. Actually, it was so funny. It's 2018. I was writing a film about AI. I was very ahead of the curve there,
yes,
I guess.
You were. Yeah,
I'd say so.
2018. My dad, like I said, been a mechanic his whole life, worked with his hands. This, like, you know, hardcore laborer. He got this like weird nervous system condition where they got paralyzed for like a month, and he's fine now. Like, he's you know, doing better than ever. He's great, but he was
seeing that face to face.
Seeing that was like horrifying because this is like my dad, like a hero of all of our family, just gonna be bedridden and paralyzed, not being able to move. And what was hurting him the most wasn't, you know, the physical pain, which, to be clear, was like very intense. It was the psychological of like not being able to work and being able to, you know, use his hands, be out with his boys, getting dirty, getting ready, being a provider. And he would, you know, like complain and cry to my mom that like I'm not doing anything. And you know, it makes you wonder, like, okay, if I get stripped of the thing that I love, like, I would be left an absolute mess, you know? So a lot of those workaholic tendencies, I think, started to like, I really started to see them. I was like, you know what, AI, like, you can wait.
You can wait. This is real. It's like, hey, I'm feeling this, I'm going through this. I mean, I think that's a good thing to think about too, where you're like, even, okay, it might not be a mechanic, but like filmmaking as a provider or whatever, it's like, if that gets stripped away from you, like
you're left with
you're feeling these things too. Like it's
kind of a universal feeling, right?
Yeah,
or it could be, right?
100%. And that I saw an opportunity to do something very personal. That was, for me, like probably the first time where I felt that I was just responding to life through film. And there's a saying, right? Like filmmakers don't go to therapy; they make movies about it.
Yeah, they do.
And we love therapy. We love therapy. It's great.
But making films is great too.
Making films is great too. It's great. But that was really the onus. And I turned the page on this AI film, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something that I feel like is relevant to me now and relevant to my community. And you mentioned the idea of it being universal. That is, I think, the biggest takeaway for this film that I'm most proud of, because it'll be a mantelpiece for me for the rest of my career. It'll always be like chasing the shadow of Manos de Oro. But I think for me, despite awards, press, and festivals, and I'm very fortunate that the film did as well as it did on the festival circuit, and how well it was received. What I'm most proud of is that I'll have my African American friends or my Asian friends or my white friends go, dude, that's my mom, or that's my dad, that's my uncle. It's a very specific story. It's about a father-son that they're Mexican, they speak Spanish mostly, but everyone has a way into it. And to me, I thought, okay, if I can do that and get people a way into my films across the board moving forward, I did my job, and I felt like I did my job there.
Yeah, oh, man, that's so good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We had a talk here this last week with a guy named Richard Ross he was talking about branding, something like that.
He's a creative director for like a water company that's starting up, and
he said it's in the particulars where you find the universal. So like this idea that the
more specific it is, the more universal it becomes.
Yeah, and that blew my mind. I thought that was such a good insight. But I feel like that really relates to what you're saying. Today's show is brought to you by Oak Cliff Brewing Co. Are you interested in unwinding and connecting with neighbors over a great beer? Then go visit Oak Cliff Brewing Co. They've got a great tap room with all sorts of great beers on tap. It's a full production brewery here in the heart of Oak Cliff. Visit oakcliffbrewing.com to find out what's on tap right now and where you can find fresh beer made right here in Oak Cliff.
So the film you were saying the response was wonderful. I think maybe sharing a little bit about that. And for people who haven't seen it, I just saw some clips of it, but it is gorgeous. I mean, black and white, right? Mm-hmm. It almost, you might hate this comparison, but like for those who've seen Roma on Netflix,
you don't?
Okay, good.
No.
Good.
It's quite the contrary. I mean, Alfonso Cuarón is one of my heroes. And I think probably one of the reasons that I decided to perhaps film in black and white, only because it was coming out at the time that my dad was in the hospital. I remember watching it that same year. There's a couple other films that I was really inspired by. I guess specific to the decision about making it black and white. It was like one of those moments in my career where I tend to be very much stuck in analysis paralysis, where I overthink everything. It's hard for me to make a decision, but that was one of those decisions where just it just clicked, and I knew it had to be black and white. I think probably because Roma was like this very clean, pretty black and white that was like mostly static on a dolly. You move left and right, you punch in and punch out.
Nice movement.
But ours was like not that. Like I really wanted to just jump into the idea of making a French New Wave Latino film.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very much inspired by the masters from before, Francois Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, these old cinema masters that used the French New Wave as an opportunity to make new kinds of films as like an FU to Hollywood. Like we're gonna do it our way. Yeah. It was like, within those limitations, there's something really beautiful sprouted. It was like this handheld, gritty, jump cutty, montagey way of filmmaking, and I felt like that. Was really conducive of the kind of story that I wanted to tell. Like it really lent itself to the style of the film that I wanted to tell. This very personal, intimate story. Specifically to the black and white. What I find so fascinating is that black and white was a limitation. It was black and white before color stock. You didn't have a choice. Yeah. But I think within that there's an opportunity to tell us a story that is free of distractions. Because saturation, color. I'm not saying in any film, most films are in color, they're distractions, but there's a very personal, intimate character deep dive, and I wanted to remove every possible distraction where you just get to see Sergio, the father, Fernando, the son, up against one another, and the gritty black and white, jump cutty, we're handheld the whole way through, and that's it. I wanted to leave no room for anything else, and that was the decision behind it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it feels analog, like you're saying, going back. It feels very authentic and real because of some of those artistic choices. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'm curious, when you started coming up with, you're working on this AI film, you put that aside. Now you're going to tell this other story. How do you even creatively? How do you even begin the process of making a film like that? Is it, you know, do you have a certain way that you go about that normally, or how does it work?
It's interesting because I feel like every filmmaker is going to give you a different version of the same answer in a way. But for me, like because I didn't go to film school and I basically just learned how to make movies either on set or like through YouTube University, just like watching like thousands of hours of YouTube videos. Teacher. The way I do it, I tend to, and probably maybe for better or for worse, I sort of like have like a spaghetti to the wall approach where I start with writing down every possible outcome and possibility of what a story could be. I throw it all against the wall. I mean, I Jackson Pollock this thing where I go, it could be this story, it could be this, their names could be this, blah, 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 blah. And I put it all out there on a giant board or like on my computer. At some point where I feel like I have enough to kind of like look back and start to Frankenstein things, I'll step back and go, okay, I see this is what I have, and I start to pull a little bit from this idea, a little from this idea, and then I make it like a Frankenstein idea of what it has to be. But I don't know. I don't like to leave any page unturned. I want to discover every possibility, and I do that with my writing. I do that with my editing. I mean, ask anyone that's worked with me. I'm kind of a pain in the ass to work with because I want to dig at every single possibility. I don't want to leave any stone unturned, and that goes with everything that I do. So I'm not a very prolific writer. If you get another filmmaker in here, like they write a lot more than me. They make more movies than me, but I really take my time. I'm the slowest writer you'll ever meet because I'm very like monotonous and very particular about what I write, how I write it. You know, it's common like that most filmmakers should give themselves permission to write a vomit draft where you just get it all out there. Just it doesn't matter. Just the first draft is the first draft.
And that's usually like ChatGPT, right?
Right. Just like give me X, Y, and Z. But I'm trying to be better about it, and I have been better about it as I'm writing my first feature film right now.
Nice.
But because I have to at this point to meet deadlines. But at the end of the day, like, I'm a little slow, but I take my time. But I know that once I have a first draft, it's a lot closer to being done than I would if I had like
progress.
Right. It's my progress. It's my way of doing things, and I don't know how else to do it otherwise. I guess.
Man, first feature film's in the works. What does that mean? Like, what's that process?
You know, this was always a part of my plan from when I started. Because I didn't go to film school, I weirdly, like, I don't know why I landed on the arbitrary number of 4 short films. I told myself, let me make 4. You know, I was originally going to make the Mourning of, the one that my most recent film at first, but
which is Oscar eligible.
Oscar eligible.
Awesome.
We can talk about that film. It's a film about a woman named Maribel who attends the funerals of strangers to cope with the loss of her mother, and we had a screening of it at the St. Louis International Film Festival last November in St. Louis, and we won the Best Live Action Short Film Award.
That's amazing.
And it's an Academy qualifying festival, so we became Oscar eligible. So for 2026, we'll be able to submit for Oscar consideration, which is like really cool.
Man.
It's stupid.
From Oak Cliff, let's go.
Hey man, I mean, look,
I'm Oak Cliff on the map.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Awesome.
You know, you don't ever anticipate these kinds of things happening, but what it is for me at the end of the day is like, look, one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next. So like, I want to use that to make my first feature film because I've made 4 short films. Like I said, that was always the plan. I was going to make the Mourning of at the very beginning, but it was too personal and too intimate, I think, of a story to
you need time to get to that point.
Get to that point and like mess up as like a baby filmmaker. I made it my 4th short film, and it was going to be, it is a proof of concept for a feature about the Mourning of, about the same story that I want to make one day. But I think in the writing of it last summer, I realized, okay, this is going to cost me a lot of money. It's a big film to have to make because the short cost a lot of money, and we had like over 170 extras on the short. For a short film, like it is just absolutely bananas what we were able to pull off across 5 days. We got money from Warner Brothers to make it.
Wow,
I mean, it was an all hands on deck operation all across the city, and I'm very fortunate that we were able to make it. But a feature film with like more people, more players.
5 days now turns into 30 or whatever.
30 days. Like it is going to be a lot. So like, you know what? Maybe make my first feature film something much more scaled down. You know, something that's a little more intimate, maybe 2-3 characters. It's a story that I've been wanting to tell anyway for a long time. In fact, when I was writing the feature film version of The Mourning of, I thought, anytime I got stuck, I want to make this other film instead. Like you always kind of like go back to the shiny new object. And it was the one I'm writing now, and it's a story called The Thing About Elephants. It's about marriage and about, you know, long-term couples, and we can get into it. But I'm deep in the throes of writing that as we speak.
Dude, we should get into it. This guy's about to get into it.
Are you writing a feature?
Well, no. I'm about to get into marriage. I got engaged.
We should talk.
I want to hear all about it. You're making this film for me right now. That's awesome.
Dude, you writing a feature? That'd be interesting. Have you ever connected with Clint Bentley?
Him and I have exchanged
director.
Him and I have exchanged messages on Instagram. We were trying to grab lunch, but he's
good.
I mean, everyone in Dallas looks up to him.
He's a superstar for sure right now.
Superstar, man. He's awesome.
He's one of those Oak Cliff people though that is like really making. So that's awesome.
Never met him. We exchanged messages on Instagram, but dude, I mean, what a journey it's been with having his latest film too at Sundance this year, Train Dreams with Joel Edgerton and Felicity Jones. It's amazing, and it's sold to Netflix. Like I think collectively as a community, we're all very proud that like that's coming out of Dallas.
Yeah, and out of Oak Cliff. Like it's crazy. Yeah. But tell us most recently Elephants. What was it? You said
The Thing About
Elephants. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a story about it's actually the first time I'm publicly talking about this film, which is really interesting. So we got a exclusive.
There you
go. There we go.
Exclusive on the Hidden
right? It's a story about a couple whose names are Oscar and Nancy. They've been together since they were children. They met in kindergarten, so they're literally childhood sweethearts. They've only ever been with each other, dated each other, shared a bed with one another. Now they're in their mid-30s. They have 2 kids, a mortgage, and they kind of wake up asking themselves, like, is this it? The central thesis of the question is, like, how do you know the one is really the one? To that I say, like, I don't think you ever really know necessarily, but these people have inextricably like been a part of each other's lives completely. So
like all the way through. So
that's a fascinating. It's not, you don't become the me diminishes and you become we. You're not just Oscar or Nancy. You're Oscar and Nancy all the way through. So I think when you're in service for someone for so long, you as an individual and your personality starts to disintegrate a little bit. And I've seen this in family and in friends.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's basically like when you found the one, and like this is kind of like a doomsday horror story of like kind of reflecting and going like, did I, like I chose this person that I love when I was 6. Am I choosing them when I'm 36? You change. You have to change.
Well, this reminds me of one of our friends. He's like a chaplain, or was. He died a few years ago, but he would say, and I don't know, I'm curious what you would respond to this, but there's the concept of the one doesn't necessarily exist. Like there's a lot of ones, and he's like, guess what? You'll meet some of those ones after you've been married. And
I couldn't agree more.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that we're not meant for just one person. I think it's right place, right time. You meet someone and you build a relationship. But I think,
and his point was like, hey, you make a commitment or whatever it is. But he's like, there are this idea that there's like this one that's like there. It's kind of a fairy tale-ish kind of thing or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's
or maybe not real. I don't know. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I think it's slap in the face to like the human condition to say that like you're only meant for one person, and if anything happens, then good luck,
you're
buddy.
Out of luck.
Yeah, good luck, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like we're meant for so much more.
It feels very freeing to say, hey, it doesn't have to just be one person.
Yeah.
It is ultimately one person when you make that call, but it's not. That's not the idea that you meet more of the ones after you're married and you've already made a commitment.
I've never
really
heard that before.
Like
I
can see how that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, these cats, they never really had a choice. I mean, they
that's interesting.
They've been together their whole lives. So anyway, to kind of wrap
tell
it
us,
up.
Tell us more.
I mean, basically, like they decide to go on an experimental marriage retreat in West Texas, so like Marfa, Terlingua, Alpine, like that area in West Texas, to do a 7-day experimental marriage retreat where it really just forces them to ask some questions and face some hard realities about why they're still together, what works, what doesn't work, and that's kind of all I'll say about it.
Dude,
I'm deep in the throes of it, but I want to shoot it out there. It's the first time I wouldn't be shooting a movie in Dallas.
Okay. Oh wow.
But I want this to be my first feature film.
Okay.
I do feel like I'm at the right place, right time to make something like this, and then at some point maybe make a feature film of Manos de Oro, the black and white film, The Mourning of, as well as something I've always wanted to do. But I have stories for days. I'm a writer director. I don't write what I don't direct, and don't direct what I don't write. So that's how it goes.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that too. That's in the works.
I'm pumped. I can't wait.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, y'all be the first one to send it to, buddy.
Let's go.
Asking all these questions.
Yeah, I love too just the way you're talking about your own like process of coming up with ideas, because it sounds like you're getting inspired and things are happening. It's not really like, I'm going to write this next and I'm going to write this. It's like, no, there's always different ideas, and sometimes one is starting to take more of your attention, and you're like, I got to kind of recognize that and make sure I give my attention to
Look, that's the only way I know how to make movies. You just sort of feel like a pull. It's like, I don't know, like a magnet that you feel like one is pulling you harder in one way than the other. I mean, I felt that when I was making Manos de Oro, like I had something pulling me in one direction with the AI film. Yeah. And then this other one just stole me completely. And I just, far be it for me to reject that notion and reject that call to do that.
It's gonna sound ridiculous. What do the Greeks call that when it's like you felt like that like inspiration, or it's like
the muse.
The muse. You
muse.
kind of you're listening to the muse a little bit during these moments.
My musings are really like yell at me sometimes, and they did in Manos de Oro, they did in the Morning of, and they're really yelling at me now with the thing about elephants.
That's awesome.
And the reason it's called that, I should say, people ask me like, oh, why is it about elephants?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's like about the saying, the elephant in the room. Like the elephant in the room is like they're way past the point of like return. So like you're really looking at the thing that they're both avoiding, which is the fact that like, hey man, like
this isn't working, or
we've been cooked for a long time. Are we doing this just because we feel like we want to make it work, or are we kind of self-sabotaging a little bit so that we can kind of wrap it up?
These are some big questions.
It's big, man. It's big. Anytime I've talked to someone in private about this, they're like, oh, those are my parents. Oh, dude, I've been married for So it's interesting that I feel like
you bring that out a little bit.
You bring
some
that
universal maybe
because I think a lot of people can relate to love. And I mean, is there anything more universal than love and relationships? You know?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's all these movies you're describing have this emotional undercurrent to them, and I'm curious what draws you into these types of stories as a filmmaker. What brings you into that sort of? It is an emotional. There's some universal appeal, obviously, but tell me about.
Yeah, I want to make you cry. That's the goal. No, I've always been drawn. Like my favorite films that I've made or that I've watched have been dramas. You know, I connect. I feel like I mostly connect to dramas more than any other genre of film, I guess, or genre. But I think for me, like I've made my first 4 short films have been very dramatic. I mean, they're very like drama. I made one horror film that was like not really that good.
You go.
But I just go for it. But I think for the thing about Elephants as an example, it is a drama and it's heavy, but it's also at the same time going to be the funniest film I've ever made. Like I want to lean into my humor a little bit and maybe drama comedy a little bit, a drama thriller. I think if you can do it 1-2 at the same time. I saw someone say that, or heard someone say this once, that like any film that can make you laugh 1 second and cry the next is like really truly a miracle.
Yeah,
where you're watching something,
art.
You're laughing, ha ha ha, and then I don't know where you feel that gut punch. You're like, why am I crying into a ball right now? Like, and that's to me, my favorite films do that. They're like on a spectrum, and I guess to answer your question directly, like if I can do and create and give people the feeling that my favorite films give me, that magic trick to me is so special. And if I can pull that off to other people when they watch my movies, I think that's the goal.
I heard it. I want to make them cry.
I want to make them cry laughing and cry
laughing
emotionally.
And crying. I'm trying to think of the last film that I cried in was Iron Claw by A24.
That's right.
And
premiered at the Texas Theater.
Man, it was tragic. But
I was very fortunate to be at the premiere at that in November of 2023, I believe it was.
And you were there too.
It was amazing. I mean, it was like a Hollywood premiere. Felt like
big time, man. Big
crazy.
red carpet.
Shut down all of Jefferson.
They were all there.
So cool.
Who were the actors?
Well, you gave me the ticket.
Zac Efron?
You got a ticket to it, and you couldn't go because
young kid with
raising
families.
a family.
I remember the ending. I was sitting next to a friend of mine, and where Zac Efron got, spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah.
Goes,
it's been a couple years.
I used to be a brother. Everyone just like, just crying. I used to be a brother. I have siblings.
Dude, I used to be a brother was wild. A wild line.
Tears.
Well, I remember Dan Vorse was telling us this too. He was like, man, they didn't even go and tell the whole story. Like it's like there was more.
There was another brother.
I know, and they're like they held back because they didn't think
it'd be too realistic.
It would hurt so much. Like it was,
and it already hurt so badly.
I know.
Right? Such a devastating.
Yeah, that director's incredible. Sean Durkin. He made another movie called The Nest with Jude Law and Carrie Coon. That's fantastic.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Another one, Marcy May Marlene, great director. So that was a perfect story for him.
That was a nice Oak Cliff moment for sure. The Texas Theater and all that.
Dude, that's super cool, man.
I know.
I love that happened. I mean, you gotta give it to. I know. You gotta give it to
A24. That was awesome.
Well, and Barack and
Ashton
there. Like they're just what they're doing at Texas Theater is incredible.
Yeah,
it's
so
awesome,
cool
man.
I'm
so in awe of what Ashton and Barack get to do for the Oak Cliff community, for cinema, and the films that they bring to that community. I mean, I'm there all the time. You know, they've helped me put together the DCPs, like the film files to send to film festivals.
That's awesome. That's
so
cool.
They're fantastic. I've had 2 short films like premiere there, like had screenings there. So Texas is like a second home to me, and I love it dearly.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You can definitely tell like they're they're champions for this, like for film in Dallas, but also like having it just here in our neighborhood means even much more.
I mean, you got the Oak Cliff Film Festival. You've got like this awesome balance between like bringing Oliver Stone in for 3 days and then like, you know, Tuesday Night Trash. You know, like
Roger Avey, who wrote Pulp Fiction, they brought him in like 2 months ago or something. Which is crazy.
Anyone who's in film, like you're
the
lucky
programming's
to have
insane.
They're great. It's like a second home to me, honestly, because I'm
awesome.
there. It's either I'm there, or I'm at the Angelica on Mockingbird. I mean, I'm all over the place watching movies in Dallas, but the Texas, man, they get, I mean, the coolest, most indie, awesome programming I think out of anybody, which is like fascinating. That is literally, I mean, we could throw a rock to it from here. It's so close, you know.
Well, tell me more like about the Dallas and Oak Cliff film scene, because what is it like from your perspective? For, you know, obviously you spent time on the West Coast. There's a lot of differences probably, but what is the scene like here in Dallas?
It's robust and it's strong. And I always tell people, once you know someone, you tend to know everybody. You know, I feel like a lot of people cut their teeth making commercials here because there's a huge corporate commercial scene here.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Huge, man. There's a lot of like stuff shooting here, and you know they pay great. What's so fascinating is that a lot of those same people also want to work on narratives. You get into this wanting to make movies, not Honda commercials. You know, at the end of the day,
right. It's kind of the same thing like weddings. You do weddings or commercial.
That's it. And those people that do weddings, they probably want to work on movies. You know, and that's the way it goes. So there's an eagerness to want to be a part of those projects, and I love being a filmmaker here. I've never lived in Austin as a filmmaker. I went to school there only, but I don't know. I feel like Dallas is prime to be a hub, and just Texas at large, but specifically Dallas. I mean, we can kind of be everything all at once, you know, for a lot of different like needs depending on what your production is asking. But it's strong. It's very tight knit. Just a friend of mine from New York, my cinematographer on the morning of, he just screened his film here, Gazer, at the Angelica. It's a private screening. Awesome. They brought out the director and Matt Deus, my cinematographer.
That's so cool.
From here, and a good chunk of the like Dallas film community came out and watched it and supported it.
Good.
It was so cool, man, just to see us all get together, and then we grabbed a drink after at the like right next door to the Angelica at the Londoner. It was really cool. So you really get to know each other, and there's so many people doing really cool stuff. My friends, Don, who you guys have interviewed, he's incredible. He's going to be going to the University of Miami, doing his master's there.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I mean, I can go on and on and on about the amount of people.
I mean, what are some of those films that have come out that for people who are like, okay, I want to know more about this? I mean, I think of like A Ghost Story and a few
David
others.
Lowery,
of course. But are there any others that come to mind where you're like, man, we're really proud that this was happening, this type of production in Dallas?
You know, I'll tell you, I'll give you someone that like maybe not many people have like heard of, like sort of like the big filmmakers. It's my friends Brandon Rivera and David Vélez. They live in Austin now, but they made a film in like Cedar Hill, I think maybe parts of Dallas and Oak Cliff. It's called The Sidewalk Artist. And I think before our film, they were the last film from Dallas and Oak Cliff to have won, like to be Oscar eligible, because their film won the Best Short Film Prize at Slamdance Film Festival. It happens at the same time as Sundance. So this was maybe 2022 or 2023 when they won this, and it's a phenomenal film. So everyone should check out what they do. They're incredible. Sidewalk Artists, fantastic, so funny.
Yes, I love it.
But they became Oscar eligible, and that happened right here in Dallas. You know, and then our film, you know, everything happened what resulted in the way it did. But you know, you don't really hear about that too much. So I feel like it's my job and my opportunity. I have an opportunity to lift up those voices and to be. I don't want to say I'm going to be the face of this. I don't really care to, quite frankly. But I'm going to come on episodes and podcasts like this to talk about it and highlight my friends, bring us all up, because I feel like when the tide rises, we all rise with it. I don't believe in like hoarding resources or hoarding. I don't know, just like opportunities.
Ideas and opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep them to myself. Like, you look at my buddy Jake Abraham, is a really good filmmaker here in Dallas, young, hungry, knows about film. My friend Gopal Bala, my friend Rebecca, who's starting to get into filmmaking, Rebecca Metzler. There's so many cool people doing cool stuff here that I think, you know, you look at people like Clint, who are, they've made it. They're on their way, and there's a lot of us right behind them, you know, wanting to do the same kind of things. We all want to follow in their footsteps, and I try to mentor people as much as I can that come from Oak Cliff, that come from any other parts of Dallas. I get messages, weekly or emails from folks that want to,
They're like, this guy's going after it, and I want to learn and be a part of that.
And to be clear, like, I've got a long way to go. I've not even made my first feature film yet, but I'll tell you, like, I didn't have that mentorship. A lot of the people that I asked for help when I was making my first stuff, they kind of either gave me the middle finger or never really messaged me back. So it's like, okay, cool. We don't take that personally, but when I get to where they are, where I wanted to be back then, I don't want to do that for other people. I want to be there and try to lift them up. And my dream, I was just talking to someone about this the other day, like at some point, start an organization here in Oak Cliff or in Dallas to support those voices, to support the arts for filmmakers and for people of color who might not really have that opportunity or don't feel like they have
got a place to go.
Got a place to go or permission to think, like, bring in let's have a night where we bring in the parents. Like, hey, it's okay, immigrant parents. It's okay, like, people of color. Like, let your students be artists. Let them dream. It's okay. There are careers in this now. I think more than ever, it's more relevant. So that was tough for me when I was starting, and I feel like I kind of want to dispel the notion that it's just like it's an impossible dream that's just gonna like lay you flat on your back.
Today's show is brought to you by Waxspace. Are you looking for a place in Oak Cliff to connect and meet other neighbors? Then Waxspace is the place for you. Come join the Neighborhood Work Club, and for just $80 a month, you can get all the things you need to be productive at work. Why work from home when you can work from a place with other neighbors? We've got cold brew, fresh coffee all day, phone booths for your meetings. We've got a podcast studio and a lot of other amenities here. So visit thewaxspace.com to learn more and sign up today. That's really cool. Yeah. I love hearing that you're like being so intentional about like, I want to bring people up with me, because it sounds like the collaborative nature of the city, the people here, there's a lot of encouragement now, and that can continue to get fostered. But like growing up, wasn't maybe quite like that.
It wasn't. I mean, I went to high school in Bishop Dunn, Catholic school. I'm a Catholic school baby, so I grew up like.
Dude, Bishop Dunn's great. It's right down here.
So I went to school here my whole life. I started in public school, and then ended up going to Catholic school, St. Elizabeth, right across the street from the Fiesta on Hampton, and then going to Bishop Dunn. And I've gone back a couple of times to talk to the students, to kind of talk through the parents, and just go, hey, like trust me, if I can do it, I'm from here. If I can do it, like anybody can. Truly, like it's hard, but if you care about it, and if you truly believe in your heart that like you can't do anything else but be a painter, be a filmmaker, and contribute to that in that way, just go for it. And I always tell people too, like the immediate thought for a lot of folks that I talk to is like, well, I got to move to LA or New York, and it's like, okay. Pump the brakes a little bit, because and look, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. I only know my way. I've stayed in Oak Cliff. I've stayed in Dallas. I've built a community here. It's strong, and I'm making a name for myself here. I have a bit of a leg up now if I moved to New York or LA today. But if I did it when I was just starting, I would be swallowed whole by the industry in a place where it's mecca for what we do. It's so incredibly saturated, and the last thing I would want is for our fellow like Oak Cliff folks and filmmakers and Dallas folks to move there, spend a year couch surfing, and go, well, I tried that dream. It is what it is, because it's just so much harder. So make it with your community, the people you went to high school with. Like if you went to Kimball, if you went to SOC, you went to all these like dope ass places. Rally the troops. That's how I make movies. That's how I've made them. My first 4 short films, and for Manos de Oro, for example, I needed a mechanic shop. My dad's a mechanic.
It's like, great, I have the resources here. I know the connections. This is my community.
So you don't have to pay location fees. Like there was a church that I shot in. I shot parts of it in Fort Worth, and they didn't want to charge me. They're like, hey, we don't really get productions like this. Like, it's okay. Like, just put our name at the end of it. And I'm like, I'm more than happy to. If I needed a gas station for a scene in Manos de Oro, there's a gas station right next door who my dad's friends with to the mechanic shop that he owns. If I need an RV, my dad used to have an RV, a boat. My little brother has a boat.
There's power in staying in the neighborhood, I think, because there's a, like you said, there's a temptation, but also just this idea. It's like the trope almost. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this, and then like couch surf, and it's like, it's even like New York City or LA, they're used to that. You're gonna pay a lot for these things.
If you go to the same mechanic shop in LA, they know their value. They're gonna go, okay, let's pony up $10,000
for this location fee. So you're talking about this. I love the idea of staying rooted and still being connected to these coasts. You've kind of said before, I want to be the Richard Linklater of Dallas. What do you mean by that? Is that kind of what you mean? Or
that's exactly what I mean. Okay. I mean, look, I've built my career here. Is there a world where maybe one day I spend a year or two in LA? Probably, but for now, like I've built my career here. I don't plan on changing it. The cool thing about what I do is that I'm not beholden to filming in one place. Like I want to continue to make movies in Dallas, start a family here, continue to grow with the community here. But I can shoot in West Texas. If I shoot this film, the thing about elephants, I could shoot in Ohio, I could shoot in New York, LA, and I travel a lot to these places to work. But at the end of the day, I always come back home. This to me feels like home. I love it, and all these places that I get to travel to. But yeah, I think there is something pretty like, I keep saying the word punk rock because it feels like very innovative, and it feels very fresh, like the things that are happening here. And I'm honored that I'm a part of it, the ecosystem that's contributing to film happening in Oak Cliff and in Dallas. And I try to encourage people to do the same, not just for the sake of like selfishly keeping people in Dallas, but I'm like, look, it'll benefit you more to build your community here with access to resources where you don't have to pay a lot of money. Like if you still live with your parents, like just save the money, dude. Like just save the money. Put that money into your film. Put that money into your projects.
Invest
your
into that.
Buy a new camera versus like what ended up happening if you move to Atlanta, LA, New York is that you'll PA, you'll grip on these bigger productions, and that's all you'll kind of do because you're barely making ends meet. You're working 16-hour days on these massive productions. Yeah. You will not have the time to write. You'll not have the time you'll be burnt out, man. You'll be burnt out. And I just
give that a year or two and you're,
I don't want like the community to swallow, the LA or these big places to swallow you whole. And look, that's not going to happen for everybody. I mean, a lot of people that I know have moved there and had incredible success and they're all the better for it. And I think it's fantastic. And, you know, I know my way of doing it, and I see this happen more often than I see the successes.
There's people like Clint that do this too, and like you kind of see it's like, hey, there's routes to like go and do it in this way. Yeah.
No, I love that idea that like you don't have to go to a place to fulfill your dream.
It can happen here, brother.
You can do it here. There's a grittiness to what you're saying, where it's like you're gonna you have to get a little scrappy, but you're also gonna like have to look for opportunities in the area, and sure enough, like opportunities abound.
And make it with your friends. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the same people for most of my films, you know, like you build your little tribe, you become a part of a tribe. And that's what was so cool about my friend's screening last week is that, a lot of the people from my tribe came out and you get to meet them and be friends with them, have a drink with them. You don't really get to do that too often with them. When you do, like you really enjoy that.
I love stealing that because I think that idea, I mean, an obvious Texas filmmaker like Wes Anderson or something, he's worked with similar people his entire
career. And he shoots his
career.
movies in Spain now.
But he's here and he's there, and it's like, do it with your friends. I think that's kind of awesome to think that way too. And so, man, that's awesome advice. Any other advice you have for kind of Oak Cliff filmmakers or just Dallas filmmakers in general?
I would say, number one, if you can, stay in your community, build it here. If you already have the luxury of like living here, your parents live in Oak Cliff or in Dallas, like there's no shame in the game unless it's like really awful living with your parents. but save the money.
It's okay to
save and invest into the career.
That's what I did.
Sacrifice that. Let your pride die a little bit on that.
Let your ego die, because if you want this bad enough, like I promise you, like it'll be well worth it. So that's number one. So you have to be obsessed with movies. I don't think you can know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. You know, you have to study the masters from before. Look at those films by Francois Truffaut. Look at those films by Howard Hawks, by Billy Wilder. Study the game. Be a student of the game. You have to love movies and be a walking encyclopedia.
There's a craft to it where people can kind of just do it, but also there's so much that's come before.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch a film like Pulp Fiction, it's like, okay, like this is great, but this reminds me of like another film that like what inspired Pulp Fiction, and you just keep going down.
Follow
what inspired Whiplash, and you just you back it up until you see like the root of everything. So you gotta watch movies, and I try to watch 2, maybe 3 movies a week. I'm busy a lot now, so it's hard for me to meet that goal. But I try my best, because if I go long enough without watching a movie, I feel like depleted. I feel like my energy sources run low. It like recharges my batteries. Yeah. So just the other night, I went to the movies to watch the new movie Warfare, directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. It was great. It was great. But it was a very like horrible experience of like watching warfare on screen. But at the end of the day, like, it's a movie, and you're in big IMAX setting, and you're just like, yes, like give me that experience. Like,
filmed by veteran, right? Or was it?
It's about an operation that happened like during the Gulf War in 2006, I believe. But I love watching movies on the biggest screen possible. So if I get to watch something in IMAX, it's top,
next level.
I'm curious too, as we're talking about the industry. How has the film industry changed over the last 10 years? Like even since when you first kind of started to now.
AI movies.
So much technology is being introduced. It seems
you
like
could just prompt a movie.
I know. Where you are seems to matter less. What else has changed in your mind, of like, for good or bad?
The changing atmosphere of it.
I mean, I think this can be a good thing and a bad thing. I'll focus on something that I think is very close to me, is like Instagram. You know, I hate social media. Like, I can't stand it. I hate feeling that like my brain is being poisoned while I'm like doomsday scrolling, like 100%. Just in bed or something, and it's
like cigarettes for.
It feels awful, dude. Brain. And then you just feel like fast food after. Like it feels good in the moment, but afterwards you're just like yuck. Like I feel terrible. This did nothing for me.
5 cigarettes.
This is like it's empty calories.
It really is. Yeah.
But at the same time, if you know how to use it well, that could really play to your advantage. And that's what I've seen change a lot. Is that when I was starting, Instagram wasn't as big for the career as it is now.
Yeah.
My cinematographer Mateus Bastos, we connected on Instagram maybe 4 years ago, and we become like best buds, and he's shooting my movies, and it's great. Julio Cedillo, who was the lead in Manos de Oro, I sent him a long Instagram DM to be a part of it. He's been in projects like Narcos Mexico, Sicario, Cowboys and Aliens, A Million Miles Away with Michael Pena on Amazon. I mean, incredible actor, one of my favorite actors. I love him dearly, and he's based in Fort Worth. And when I was looking for someone to cast Manos de Oro, I'm like, who am I going to find? I don't have access to these people in New York, LA,
you don't know
Mexico
if you don't
City.
ask, kind of thing. Yeah,
you don't know if you don't ask. And he's based in Fort Worth. I sent him a long Instagram message, and we connected over the phone. And that was the beginning of me going like, oh, like you can use this to like really like connect with people.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool. It is a tool. So that has really been it also kind of lays into the idea of advice. Like use that to your advantage. Like connect with people, because I've made friends with people all over the world. Just by following them on Instagram. And I know that if I go to Paris, I have a poster designer friend who I've talked to that I can just meet up for coffee.
That's really cool.
LA, like I'm setting up meetings right now. I was going to be in LA at the end of May, early June for another festival screening. Cool. I'm trying to set up meetings with people that I've just connected over Instagram. Hey, dude, we've been following each other for 3-4 years. Let's sit down, let's grab coffee, let's grab lunch. And those people are going to be the movers and shakers of tomorrow. You know, they're going to be, they might be PAs or short filmmakers now, but give them 5-10 years, they'll be the next Clint Bentley. They'll be the next Don Thomas. They'll be the next people that we're all talking about sitting here at this podcast.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that we caught you early in. And it's like,
man, I hope pre-Oscar.
Pre-Oscar, man. I know.
Man, I hope that like you're doing this years from now, and then there's a filmmaker that's like, you guys know Merced?
Yeah, dude. Oh, for sure.
That'd be nice. And I hope that I can come back at some point and be like, hey, man, I'm still here.
Dude, that's awesome.
Thing,
That's cool, awesome. Man. Keep it up. It's so fun to get to know you and hear your stories.
Thanks, man. I'm trying my best.
Merced, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, you guys. What a pleasure.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Hidden City. We hope you discovered something about Oak Cliff that you didn't know. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you subscribe to it on YouTube and then follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Also, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend, and thanks so much for tuning in.